at Perkins. We're behind. They're all fired up. We got class, we're going to find it out. We've got class, and I know we got it. And what we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. Our defense hasn't been taking the ball. Then when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people. 11 people that's just going to do their job, whatever it is. It's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. Okay, can we get together? All we need is just somebody that wants to do some leadership out there. Now we go. Come on, Ed. Everybody's a leader.
Now it's the Crimson Cover with your host, Alabama football legend John Copeland, recruiting analyst Mike Parker, senior sports writer Chase Goodbread. The Crimson Cover is on.
Crimson Cover is brought to you in part by Alabama Credit Union. You are Alabama. We are your credit union.
Welcome to Crimson Cover Television on WVUA, Alabama's home team. I'm Chase Goodbread of the Tuscaloosa News and TideSports.com, along with my partners Mike Parker of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Big John Copeland from the 1992 National Championship football team here at Alabama, and Mitch Gaspard, the university baseball coach, joining us as a special guest here in the first segment. We're going to recap the hardball season for the Crimson Tide, but Mike, first, why don't you tell them about our sponsor?
Our main sponsor is Alabama Credit Union. It's one of the fastest growing and strongest financial institutions in the state. They recently received the 2011 Credit Union of the Year Award, which is huge. It's given by the League of the Southeastern Credit Unions. Come visit one of their 9 local ATMs that they have around, and the number there is 205-348-5944.
Good deal. And, Coach, I want to thank you for joining us, first of all. Alabama baseball finishes the season in the regional tournament down in Tallahassee, 2 up, 2 down there. You eliminate Central Florida. You go down to the Seminoles, who were hosting, of course. Tell us a little bit about how you would kind of summarize the season for the Crimson Tide.
Well, I thought, coming into the year, we knew this was going to be a rebuilding type year for us. We obviously had 7 players drafted off last year's club that made it to Super Regional. So, overall, I think to make it to regional finals, obviously you're never pleased until you get to Omaha, but I thought with a young group and a new group, we certainly achieved a lot of goals, but I thought the key was we improved as the year went on and had some really good individual efforts, with certainly some of our pitchers and some new players that came in. So I think we're excited where we're at right now and as we look toward the future as well.
A lot can happen, of course, in fall practice between now and the time you crank it up again next spring, but how do you size things up for next year in terms of what you're losing and what you're bringing back?
Well, I think it starts on the mound, and obviously we lost a lot of innings with Nathan Kilcrease, and Adam Morgan's going to sign with the Phillies, and Jonathan Smart. All 3 of those guys were tremendous for us this year. But I think at the same time we've got the core of our position players back, and obviously we're adding, had a really good recruiting class that's coming in. So with that, and get 4 drafted pitchers that we expect to make it to school, and so I think with that mix, and we're, as I said, we're excited where we're headed, and until you get out there and start going, then you really see where it's at. But I think it's going to be a much improved team, and obviously where we've got to be good is on that pitching mound, and we've got to get those young guys ready to go in a hurry next year.
Coach, how many players are going pro off this year's team?
Well, on this club, we had obviously Taylor Dugas was our highest draft pick in the 8th round, and Adam Morgan went in the 3rd round, left-handed pitcher, and Adam's going to sign with the Phillies, and Nathan Kilcrease went in the 30th round with Oakland A's. He signed, was a senior. Brock Bennett was a senior. He was drafted by the San Francisco Giants, and Taylor Dugas went in the 8th round, but right now I think there's a real good chance Taylor may come back to school for his senior year, which would be a real big boost for us. Obviously, he's been a tremendous leadoff hitter, a 2-time All-American for us, and so our dialogue right now, we're encouraged that he may be back, and obviously that would be a great starting point for us going into next year.
Coach, when you go out recruiting, do you go for like these 5-star recruits that could be one and done, or do you approach it in a sense that this player will stay, and by the time he's a senior, he's going to be sticking around and, give the club some maturity and stuff like that? Or do you just have to go for the one and dones?
Well, we try to get a mix. Obviously, we're not going to shy away from a high draft pick, but our sport's so much different than everyone else, because they can sign out of high school. And now, obviously, once you get them here, you have them for 3 years before they can sign again.
Right.
But for example, last year, we caught a tough break where we had 5 signees sign pro. And once they sign, you really can't go out and get other guys at that time. So we'll take some chances on some guys that may be high draft picks, but at the same time, we try to look for guys that we can develop, like you said, that can kind of build the core of your team and they can mature as they're here. So it's a good mix, but a lot of ours, obviously we really focus in the state of Alabama and try to sign the best players here. And from that, a lot of our success depends on how good our state is from year to year, because we only have 11.7 scholarships, which is difficult. I mean, like, as I said, it's unlike any other sport, just the geographics and the way things work. We can't go out of state and give guys full scholarships. We're giving guys 25, 50%. So when you put all that in and you have 27 guys on scholarship on 11.7, that's the real challenge right there.
Coach, why don't you share your feelings with us on these new bats? Did you like them? You didn't like it? Because me, myself, as a, I'm a novice baseball fan. Mm-hmm. So when I go to the game, the more balls to go out the park, the better. My co-host here, he likes to see the 2-3 games.
I like small ball.
What's your thought on that?
Well, you know what, I do miss the gorilla ball era a little bit. I mean, I like to see the ball fly out of the park like anybody else,
right.
But also as a coach, I kind of like the new bats a little bit because I think there's more strategy involved. I think that you have to set your pitching up a little bit differently, and obviously you have to play a short game, as you said. You have to be able to bunch. You got to be able to run the bases properly.
That's what you like about it.
You got to be able to hit and run, and you got to be able to manufacture runs. I mean, that's the bottom line. This team this year, as I said, which was a rebuilding type year, I think the new bats probably helped us a little bit because we were able to do a pretty good job in defending, playing the short game a little bit, and you're not going to see those 6-7 run innings due to the 3-run homer.
And you have to
like
coach
you did
what you like to do.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Going to do it for this segment. I like the small ball because I like games that are over in 2:30 instead of 4 hours. That's one thing. I like to get in and get out. We got to get out of here. This is the end of the first segment. Come back on the other side of the break. We'll be doing a recruiting segment right here on Crimson Cover. This is WVUA.
When you bring your money to the bank, do you really know who you're giving it to? You see, banks are always changing names, people, and policies. But at Alabama Credit Union, the name's been the same for over 50 years, and so has the service. Never treating people like numbers, rather caring for you as members, like a family. So you get better rates, without all the bank fees, from people you know. Today, when every penny counts, a name you can trust counts even more. When you bring your money to the bank, do you really know who you're giving it to? You see, banks are always changing names, people, and policies. But at Alabama Credit Union, the name's been the same for over 50 years, and so has the service. Never treating people like numbers, rather caring for you as members, like a family. So you get better rates, without all the bank fees, from people you know. Today, when every penny counts, a name you can trust counts even more.
Crimson Cover is brought to you in part by Alabama Credit Union. You are Alabama. We are your credit union.
Welcome back to Crimson Cover Television on WVUA, Alabama's home team. Chase Goodbread, Mike Parker, John Copeland with you for a couple more segments. Got a special piece now from the University of Alabama TCF student Chelsea Barton, who did a piece on Deontay Wilder's fight, which benefited tornado victims.
Yes, you know, Deontay Wilder for Tuscaloosa, he just came out of nowhere. Like, where did this kid come from? Because most people train all their life to make it to the Olympics. Some start at 10 years old just to make it to the Olympics, and many fall by wayside. But I started at 20 years old. A year and a half later, I was the only one to medal for the United States in boxing, and you know, it don't get no better than that.
Tuscaloosa native Deontay Wilder is still humbled by his rapid success and has now used it to provide relief as well as entertainment for his wounded hometown. I caught up with Deontay to learn a thing or two about boxing as well as his upcoming fight.
Saturday, June 18th, it's showtime.
And indeed it was. Hundreds of fans came out from all over to see an evening packed full of fights right here at Tuscaloosa's brand new amphitheater. Wilder took on dangerous Damon Reed in the 8th and final fight, in which the Bronze Bomber took the win with the second-round knockout. Although Wilder and his fans were ecstatic, he says that ultimately this fight meant so much more.
It's a good feeling when you're giving back, you know. Everybody all about receiving, but what they say, the more you give, the more you shall receive. So, you know, I love it.
Deontay himself handed out tickets to the event to tornado victims in Alberta City. Sky Boxing also took $20 donations so that even more storm victims would be able to attend. Wilder's Rumble on the River victory increased his professional record to an impressive 17-0, keeping his ultimate dream quite alive.
I'm the next heavyweight champion of the world.
Reporting for Crimson Cover, I'm Chelsea Barton.
Great stuff from Chelsea there. Fellas, recruiting segment now, as always, what we're doing throughout
Big shout out to
summer.
Dante before we get started. Good job, baby.
Deontay Wilder, absolutely.
I was disappointed. I didn't have blood on my white shirt. I told him, I said I wanted blood on my white shirt. But, no, he did a good job in whooping up on that boy.
No question about it. Mike, why don't you set up this recruiting segment? Who we got today?
All right, first we got Landon Collins. He's a safety, 6 foot, 200 pounds, the number 2 safety, you know, in the country. And, you know, Landon Collins was a huge standout at Alabama's camp. He played alongside Eddie Williams, another Alabama commit who worked on selling them the idea of playing in the backfield. Very physical at the point of attack, reads the ball well, has a good nose for the football, knows exactly what to do with the football when he picks it off. He's excellent at getting to the quarterback and shedding off blockers. He's a great tackler.
Troy Polamalu.
Former teammate of Eddie Lacy at that high school, Geismar in Louisiana. I guess it's safe to say that when and if he comes for an official visit, Eddie Lacy might be his host, huh?
Yeah, Burton Burns is all over him. He reads, plays well. Probably one of the most physical backs in the country. Hands down, that's what Nick Saban really loves is tacklers. And Eddie Williams is really trying to sell this guy on them coming and playing in the backfield together. But
That's a good football player there. I like that kid.
he can play. He will be. It'll probably come down to LSU or Alabama, of course. But I like our chances with this guy. I like our chances a lot. I would say we got 60-40 over LSU right now. But he's a heck of a ball player.
He reads the plays well.
He sure does. You can tell he's coached well.
Who we got now? Cyrus Jones.
Cyrus Jones is more of an athlete type. He's about 5'11", maybe 180 pounds. What Nick Saban likes to do now is go out nationally, and again, we're in the state of Maryland where we've been plucking out recruits. This guy's just great at returning punts and kickoffs. They get the ball to him any way they can, whatsoever. In the backfield, special teams, wide receivers, on reverse. He's excellent at reading the quarterback's eyes, has lightning speed, and if I was to guess, I would say Nick Saban wants this guy to play quarterback. I mean, every time you get an athlete-type guy in there that's like that, Nick Saban likes to throw him at quarterback, but he could be a receiver just the same.
Quickly, Mike, where do you see, before we go to break, how many spots are left in this class? I mean, it seems like it's filling up fast. There's a lot of guys that Alabama might really like who they just may not have room for.
We've got about 11 spots left, and there are a ton of guys. But like I said, when Nick Saban gets some of these early recruits, a lot of them don't pan out, and we don't keep a lot of them, and then we'll get high recruits in the second round of the recruiting segment.
There you have it. That's going to do it for this segment on Crimson Cover Television. When we come back, we're going to move along with our weekly summertime SEC football preview. This week up, the University of Tennessee Volunteers. We're going to be talking to Brent Hubbs from VolQuest.com. It's going to do it for this segment. Join us on the other side of the break. This is Crimson Cover Television.
When you bring your money to the bank, do you really know who you're giving it to? You see, banks are always changing names, people, and policies. But at Alabama Credit Union, the name's been the same for over 50 years, and so has the service. Never treating people like numbers, rather caring for you as members, like a family. So you get better rates, without all the bank fees, from people you know. Today, when every penny counts, a name you can trust counts even more.
It's Not Tuscaloosa is, of course, a Facebook page that we started here at Crimson Cover shortly after the tornado that did such catastrophic damage here in Tuscaloosa. The concept behind it, you go on the Facebook page at facebook.com/whatsyourdate. You pick a date anytime over the next 12 months on which you make a personal commitment to either volunteer or donate. And the best way to remind yourself of what your date is to go by a credit union branch and pick up a calendar, $5 to the Tuscaloosa Disaster Relief Fund, and an extra $5 per sale from the credit union as a match. Our goal, of course, on the Facebook page is to get all 365 dates through June 1 of 2012 covered by at least one person to come on that Facebook page and claim that date. And of course, the calendar goal is to sell 10,000 of those, which would raise $50,000 on sales alone and would reach the ceiling for the credit union's match, which would be an additional $50,000. We're talking about $100,000 potentially on calendar sales alone, and then of course the Facebook commitments.
When you bring your money to the bank, do you really know who you're giving it to? You see, banks are always changing names, people, and policies. But at Alabama Credit Union, the name's been the same for over 50 years, and so has the service. Never treating people like numbers, rather caring for you as members, like a family. So you get better rates, without all the bank fees, from people you know. Today, when every penny counts, a name you can trust counts even more.
That's Not Tuscaloosa is, of course, a Facebook page that we started here at Crimson Cover shortly after the tornado that did such catastrophic damage here in Tuscaloosa. The concept behind it, you go on the Facebook page at facebook.com/whatsyourdate. You pick a date anytime over the next 12 months on which you make a personal commitment to either volunteer or donate. And the best way to remind yourself of what your date is to go by a credit union branch and pick up a calendar. $5 to the Tuscaloosa Disaster Relief Fund and an extra $5 per sale from the credit union as a match. Our goal, of course, on the Facebook page is to get all 365 dates through June 1 of 2012 covered by at least one person to come on that Facebook page and claim that date. And of course, the calendar goal is to sell 10,000 of those, which would raise $50,000 on sales alone and would reach the ceiling for the credit union's match, which would be an additional $50,000. We're talking about $100,000 potentially on calendar sales alone, and then of course the Facebook commitments.
Crimson Cover is brought to you in part by Alabama Credit Union. You are Alabama. We are your credit union.
Welcome back to Crimson Cover Television on WVUA, Alabama's home team. As promised, our weekly SEC breakdown continues, previewing the Tennessee Volunteers this week with Brent Hubbs from VolQuest.com. Here's what Brent had to say about the Volunteers offense coming up in 2011.
Well, the encouragement for the offense is they're bringing everybody back on the offensive line, and after a year of struggles last year playing a bunch of freshmen, the good news is all those freshmen have become sophomores, and the real talent, the belief is the real talent on this team for this season and for the future is on the offensive line. They've created some depth through recruiting. They've really done a nice job of hitting on linemen who can play pretty quick and right away. So I think it starts up front with the offensive line. They should be able to protect better, and they should be able to be a little more effective in the run game. Now, they need a little more dynamics out of the offensive backfield from Tar and Poole, but he should have more lanes to run in this year because no longer is it a 17-year-old who's getting his first snaps on the offensive line in college football. Now that 17 or 18-year-old is a 19-year-old who's played 10, 11 games of college football, and they ought to be much better for him.
A little bit younger here with Brent's thoughts on the defense.
Well, if Jansen Jackson is back, and we think he's going to re-enroll in school in July, and we'll be back for fall camp. We'll see if he makes it all the way through. It's going to be a day-to-day type deal with him. But if he's back, then their strength lies in the secondary, particularly at safety with Jansen Jackson and Brent Brewer returning. They've got a couple of junior college kids they think can help them on the corner and really elevate their game there. Malik Jackson's a really good player on the defensive line. He just doesn't have enough help. The real concern about this team is going to be in the front seven. Can they stop the run? I think teams will certainly test Tennessee that way and try to see if they can just line up and cram it down Tennessee's throat. They need some defensive linemen and particularly some young linebackers to really come on. If there's a overriding concern about this team, it's their lack of depth on the defensive side of the ball, particularly in their front seven.
Finally, here were Brent's thoughts on the Volunteers' schedule for this season.
Yeah, the difficult thing about Tennessee's schedule this year is what they have to play in the West. And they have to play every elite team in the Western Division. They play at Arkansas, which is tough. They travel to Alabama, and then LSU comes to Knoxville. So the real challenge for them is going to be in the Western Division part of the race. The East is a bit up for grabs, and it's not the greatest schedule for Tennessee. You're traveling to Florida. But the real challenge for this schedule is can they find a way to pick up one win in that Western Division when they play the elite team.
All right, fellas, we got a couple other notes we want to hit on before we get out of here, but real quick, your thoughts on the Tennessee Volunteers. Let's start with you, John. What do you see from that team this season?
Nothing.
7 wins?
Man, Tennessee is the new Kentucky to me. I just don't think Tennessee is going to be any good for a long time. They need to get They need to get a big-time coach. They need to overhaul that whole football program.
You heard it here on Crimson Cover. Tennessee is the new Kentucky, right from John Copeland. Mike, can you top that?
No. No. But I will say that 70% of their team, I heard it out of Dooley's mouth, consisted of freshmen and sophomores. So however their recruiting is going to go is how this team, I believe, is going to go. I believe Dooley can, I hate to say this, Mike Shula it, but, those are my thoughts.
We got to get out of here. A couple quick notes real quick, though. First, Darren Lake, a recruit. Alabama picked up a commitment from him after the lineman camp earlier this week.
Huge pickup. I forgot to mention it earlier. The guy's 330 pounds. From Sumter County, and he's going.
Oh, that's the big guy.
Yeah, and he's going to be a huge addition. He's very underrated.
And finally, Darrington Centimore, the University of Alabama defensive lineman, apparently going to be looking at possibly transferring, possibly to the University of Miami. We'll have to wait and see. But John, it looks like another player's maybe on the way out the door.
I hate that, man. I really, really like Centimore. I thought Centimore could have really helped us, man. I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know about, but I really hate to see that kid go.
Certainly a talent, no question about it. Hadn't done a lot on the field yet, but this fall might have been his shot to kind of do something. We'll see what happens there. Could be going to the University of Miami. They did recruit him out of high school. We'll keep an eye on it for you here on Crimson Cover. That's going to do it for this show. Join us next week. For John Copeland and Mike Parker, I'm Chase Goodbread. See you next week. This is Crimson Cover on WVUA.